So, hello everybody, and today I'm going to do another unboxing, and I'm going to unbox Fallen Land, a post-apocalyptic board game by John Longren and Sean Cahill, and the expansion Fallen Land, A Journey into Darkness. Now, this game isn't new. It came out in 2016, and apparently it was a Kickstarter at the time. I missed out on this one completely. And I think it kind of went under the radar a little, at least for me, because this game apparently never hit retail in Europe. And I first saw it wasn't a review, it was an in-depth discussion of the game with some examples of play by Geek Gamers. And I want to say I saw this maybe last year or the year before. But I rewatched this weekend, and I just felt I've been doing a lot of RPGing, and this game is described by many people, for better or for worse. Some people criticize it for it, other people like it because of it, as a very narrative board game. And of course, all of my board games that I enjoy have a narrative component to them. And even the war games do, because when you play a war game, you narrate the story of an army or platoon clashing with an enemy. So I decided to check out if this game was available, and it's not available in Europe, so I got it through Amazon.com. And I've got this Fallen Land, A Journey into Darkness expansion. I've got the other one as well. Now, I bought this on Saturday. Today is Wednesday. This arrived this morning. The other one is coming from a different warehouse in the United States, and it's going to be arriving apparently later today with a different courier. So I'm very surprised, because I thought this was going to take weeks, because parcels in Europe take weeks. So I didn't expect this to hit my table this early. So let's do a quick unboxing. It's a very heavy box. And I think I counted about almost 600 cards in here. Now, it is a game that comes with a theme that I have no other games about, if we disregard Last Night on Earth. Because Fallen Land, a post-apocalyptic board game, is a board game that deals with post-apocalyptic America. Now, I don't have any games that are set in a post-apocalyptic future, unless we say that Last Night on Earth is kind of a post-zombie apocalypse or zombie apocalypse game. A lot has been said about the randomness of the game, because the idea is that you play this opposed. There are solo rules in this expansion, but you don't need the cards to play solo. You just really need the rules, and the rules are freely available, so you could use them with the base game only. So how this works in the base game, the idea is that you have different factions. Each faction represents a township after the apocalypse and the people who live there. And of course, that is done randomly. I think there are 80 character cards in the base game, and you draw them randomly. So when you think about it, 8 characters, each one with different abilities, and if you just draw 5 of them, you will have a very motley crew. And a lot of people say that this means you can't strategize, because you don't know what abilities somebody will have. And then, of course, as you play the game, you acquire things, you find things, you scavenge. The apocalypse has just happened. So this is maybe not as bad as after Skynet took over, but it's pretty bad. So again, the stuff that you find is random. You go scavenging and you may find stuff that may be useful. It may be stuff that's not useful for you. And of course, then the things that happen are random as well, because you are hit with random events. And for a lot of people, that is too much randomness. And it kind of sounds a little bit like Arkham Horror. You don't know what the event will bring, except it's going to be negative. You don't know what you're going to get if you go to the shop. You don't know what you're going to get when you go to the different department stores that exist, or the magic shop. You just basically start drawing cards and you hope for the best. And a lot of people say that it all seems to hinge upon your ability to turn this into a story that you are telling, and even if it's just in your head, or telling with other people at the table talking out loud. And that's why this is exactly the kind of game for me, because I don't mind the randomness because it is a thematic randomness. Unlike, for example, in Arkham Horror, where I can't go into the magic shop and say, okay, I just want to look at the following things. Or even when you look at the way Runebound 2nd edition works with a market step, where you just draw from a big pile. I actually changed this around and I said, well, there will be 3 types in the beginning. Of things that you can draw from you can go to the tavern to hire an ally. You can go to the weapons shop, or you can go to the grocery shop, the haberdashery where they sell everything that isn't a weapon, or where you can get stuff that isn't, recruit somebody that isn't an ally. Because I just thought, okay, well, if I go to a place, then I just don't want to be hit with all of this randomness. I do want things to make a little more sense. But then, of course, I started playing Cities of Adventures, and suddenly it was all balanced out, and then, it just became a lot better. And then I now have one big stack of cards, and it's the luck of the draw again, but you draw for every single town every single time. So you have a lot of stuff, but it also gets taken away. So the randomness doesn't deter me, especially since in a game that deals with a society that has broken down, a land that has fallen, it makes perfect sense. You don't know who will survive, and you will just have to make do with the people you find, the survivors you find, and their abilities. And if you have a priest, and I don't know what kind of people are in there, but if you've got a priest, a nurse, and a farmer, then that's what you've got. You will have to make do. And if you have no one with any medical experience, then that's it. Then you will have to make do. And the fact that what you find is also random makes perfect sense, because everything has been destroyed. You don't know what you will be able to salvage. And with regard to events, everyone's life is random to a certain degree. And I don't even want to know what would happen if society completely fell and if everything was destroyed. I think if the randomness makes sense because it's thematic, then it is something that I can accept. So let's take a look at the box, very sturdy. And it starts out with the rules. Now, I've heard very good things about the rule book, and it is multicolored, looks very nice, and I will give this a good read. These are the towns, so each town has its own starting location. This is Emporium, Pennsylvania. This is Grand Haven, Michigan. And each faction has a different name. Sigma Corporation, Sons of Neptune. The Brotherhood is in St. George, Utah. The Highwaymen, they are in Sturgis, South Dakota. And I don't know, Albany, Georgia is a place that I recognize. And Amarillo, Texas is too. So I guess the other ones are real as well. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different starting locations. Possibly even 10, because I think these two stuck together. And you've got a story at the back, which is really nice. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. So if you were to pick those randomly as well, you would make it even more fun, in my opinion. Then we've got the first player sheet, which explains the different phases. And I have to say, it feels lovely. It's the back is completely flat, but this has some kind of sheen to it. It's like laminated, like it looks like the cards, the playing cards. It's really nice finish. We've got really nice and big and well-cut die-cut counters. I really like them. They are really high quality and it feels very nice. It feels just lovely touching them. More counters, ammunition, blood, radiation, brains. And more ammunition counters and more other counters. So don't know, there's no counter, sheet counter as it were. Let's see if it says anywhere how much you should have of what. If we've got components, an inventory of the components. No, it doesn't say. 10 town maps. Oh, it comes with bags. That's very welcome. It does come with dice. So 10-sided dice and 6-sided dice. It comes with... this is lovely. These are the tokens that represent the different factions. That's nice. They come in 3D. Howling Wolf. It's going to be mine regardless of who I play. Then you've got a game board, which is essentially a map of the United States. Post-apocalyptic. And a lot of people will say, okay, this looks ugly. I won't go that far. I don't think it looks ugly. I think it looks functional. And it's all I need. I mean, it does look kind of, you know, I don't know, there's something about the color when you first look at it, but then again, the colors indicate something, so it does make sense. And the quality feels very nice. And at the end of the day, it's also all about the component quality. And then we've got the heart of the game, and this is also why I wanted to get this game, after all, because I like card games. It's something about the mechanic that I really like. And it kind of has a little bit of an insert, so I'm pretty sure that even when you sleeve them, they might fit in there, which would be nice. So, this would be a player character. And that is Addison Morley, veteran park ranger. So this is basically a character card, and you've got the stats down there, you've got his life points, probably his mental stability. I haven't read the rules, so this is just guesswork. And I really like the art, it's kind of gritty. So you've got all of these, and when I look at the back, it says character. So they have all got different backs. So we've got characters over here. I'm just going to zoom down a little. Alton Goldwater, weathered old farmer. Charlton Holloway, paranoid arms dealer. DeForest Tanner, MD. Caustic trauma surgeon. John Longren, that's one of the designers. Juan Upton, Monica Pitcher, Norris Blake, SSG Carter Neal, Staff Sergeant maybe. Then this is a weapon, so it's spoiled, it's got a different back. So apparently you've got 80 characters. So there is some of them. Here we've got more spoils, so these would be things that you can find, a vehicle, and it also has, a vehicle, macho tow truck, I like that. And it also gives you the different stats, and of course you can align them. So I'm not saying that you would basically assign Addison Morley to this macho truck, but when you play this game, you can add these cards and basically put them down like scales on an animal, and then you can just read it down. So you would combine these as well. So of course this means that you have to pay attention to where you put stuff. So we've got more characters here. They're all kind of crazy looking, but you know, they have survived an apocalypse, so you would expect them to be a little bit weird. And you've got men, you've got women, you've got all kinds of different types of people, different ethnicities as well. Generally speaking, this is the type of artwork is one that would normally not appeal to me, but it kind of makes sense for the game. You know, I like, you know, if they actually manage to keep this type up across all cards. So if the art direction is good enough to not cause any breaks, then that means it's good. I don't necessarily like the art per se, but if they stick to this art, then it does make sense, and then it's acceptable. What I don't like is breaks in the artwork, because then it's jarring. So these are all, of course, mixed, as we all know. Sometimes card games are like that. So we've got plenty of people in here, which also means that, you know, question of replayability. If you draw these randomly, you have a lot of replayability, because they're all different. So then you've got action cards. Let's take a look. Yeah, the art is kind of cartoonish. So when you look at this guy, he's out of ammo, but he's basically fighting some kind of alien type creature. There are two types of cards. The ones with the red dot, you are usually, or you're advised to remove when you play solo, because you use them against someone else. I just basically want to play this through, playing two factions, playing two-handed, possibly using the same strategy that I use in other games where, you know, I basically roll for precedent and then make decisions based on that. Because in order for me to understand how the solo would work if all of the red cards were gone, I need to see them, and there could be a better way, you know, not removing them, but maybe having kind of like an event deck. You know, they do say that you can play a dummy faction and then you just basically roll on tables. So here we've got turn order summary, so that's always welcome. City, rad, whatever these are. Okay, so these are, I have no idea what these cards are. So these are more action cards. Another turn order sequence card, city rad cards. Yeah, so turn order. They seem to be like stories. Prying up the rusted manhole with an enormous heave, you are startled by the subterranean war party starting up, and then you have to do things. So these are kind of like things that you have to overcome, possibly challenges. More actions. The card quality feels nice. They feel nice. They don't stick together, and they would hold up to being shuffled. Not a problem there. Once you sleeve them, they're going to be huge stacks, so they might fall over easily, but we will see. And because obviously, for a game that is this rare and this expensive, because I think Amazon had like 6 left, you know, you want to keep the components clean, because it's one of those games that isn't easily replaceable. Okay, so that's the action cards. This is a spoils card. Okay, so I'm just gonna... Spoils cards go over here. So these are more... okay. So you have city cards and you have plains cards, which also... So apparently, depending on where you are, you find different encounters, which I really welcome. You know, there is nothing like when you have a game like this that you add plenty of content. And I remember this is one of the gripes that I have with the Middle Earth Adventures in Middle Earth board game by Fantasy Flight, where you're also essentially walking around trying to defeat Sauron, and you have way too few you have way too few cards to draw from to make the game replayable. It actually gets boring really, really quickly. Some more spoils cards, more planes and spoils. Okay. So here you will probably play this several times over before you have seen all of the cards. And that's always a good thing, because it means it keeps the game fresh. Okay, now we've got a new type of card that we haven't seen before, Mission. So, territorial aspirations. Keep this card in your hand and do not read it out loud until you are ready to fulfill the objective. So you obviously also have objectives. That's really interesting. Here we've got mountain cards. So obviously when you go to the mountains, you see different things than when you go to the plains, which makes perfect sense. So big thumbs up there. So when I play this for the first time, I will definitely play double-sided, double-handed, and I will use the precedence mechanic. So basically you roll at the beginning, and the person with the higher, or the player, the faction with the higher die roll takes precedence. So if you want to play a card against the other player, or if you want to play an action card, you have to roll, and if you have precedence, you get to put it down successfully on a 1 to 4, and if you don't have precedence, you put it down successfully only on a 1 to 2, which means that if you have one card in your hand that you know will counteract a card from somebody else, so the other player that you're emulating, you have to make a decision, is it important enough, because it might be less likely for you to pull it off. Makes perfect sense and works very well with Doomed 2nd edition and Last Night on Earth. So I think it would work here as well. So, last pack. More spoils cards. Let's do this way. So this is spoils, 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 spoils. Okay, so you have plenty of loot that you can find. So they have definitely not been... they've definitely provided lots of content. I mean, I know that someone will say, yeah, just the number of cards doesn't make for good gameplay. That is true, but when you know the gameplay mechanics, and I do know them, like, theoretically, and if you then see this number of cards, it does provide an indication that, you know, there will be replayability in this game. So let's just order them a little. So we can see the different types of cards that we have. I would say actions and spoiled cards are by far the largest number of cards that we have, and characters. And that for me is especially important because, you know, it's kind of a narrative game where it's all about how people fare when they are put in a certain position. So we've got these different types of cards. We've got mountains, cities, and plains, if you like, encounter cards. We've got missions, we've got action cards, we've got the spoils, and we've got the characters, and of course we've got 5 of these turn sequences. So, of course, this means sleeving, and more sleeving, but I've got more than enough sleeves. So that's what I'm going to be doing over the next couple of days. On and off, I'll sleeve this game and then I will play it next week. So that's all from me for the moment. That was an unboxing of Fallen Land, a post-apocalyptic board game by Fallen Dominion Studios LLC. And it was developed between 2005 and 2017, which is a lifetime. So talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Makes perfect sense and works very well with Doomed 2nd edition and Last Night on Earth. So I think it would work here as well. So, last pack. More spoils cards. Let's do this way. So this is spoils, 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 spoils. Okay, so you have plenty of loot that you can find. So they have definitely not been... they've definitely provided lots of content. I mean, I know that someone will say, yeah, just the number of cards doesn't make for good gameplay. That is true, but when you know the gameplay mechanics, and I do know them like theoretically, and if you then see this number of cards, it does provide an indication that, you know, there will be replayability in this game. So let's just order them a little. So we can see the different types of cards that we have. I would say actions and spoiled cards are by far the largest number of cards that we have, and characters. And that for me is especially important because, you know, it's kind of a narrative game where it's all about how people fare when they are put in a certain position. So we've got these different types of cards. We've got mountains, cities and plains, if you like, encounter cards. We've got missions, we've got action cards, we've got the spoils, and we've got the characters, and of course we've got 5 of these turn sequences. So, of course, this means sleeving, and more sleeving, but I've got more than enough sleeves. So that's what I'm going to be doing over the next couple of days. On and off, I'll sleeve this game and then I will play it next week. So that's all from me for the moment. That was an unboxing of Fallen Land, a post-apocalyptic board game by Fallen Dominion Studios LLC, and it was developed between 2005 and 2017, which is a lifetime. So talk to you soon. Bye-bye.